Yo, what up, bros? Today I want to show you something awesome. I've been working on this for a little while now, and I've got something really cool that I'm very proud of that I want to show you. And I'm gonna show you a couple of boss fights. We're gonna talk about the build, and we're really gonna get into it. And it's just cool. But for now, we're gonna cut over and check out what this can do. Just hold on, wait, just watch. All right, that was super exciting. One thing I wanted to touch on with that little showcase, I was missing a ton of damage because I did it in Blood Stance when I did it in Sand Stance when I should have been in Blood Stance. So we have a little bit of less AoE compared to the other stance, but we swap stances depending on what we're doing. So if we're mapping, we're in Sand Stance. If we're bossing, we're in Blood Stance. Small disclaimer before we get into everything. Now, I know a lot of you guys are curious about the DPS, the hit pool, everything, how it's built, what we've done, where we're going, and I wanted to showcase that to you and show you that now. Our effective DPS on our build, non-Uber boss, is 41,269,000. Our hit chance, 100%. Our crit chance, 100%. Our crit multi, 621%. And our full DPS, 41 and change. If I enable Vaal Cleave and I cleave the mob, we go up to 68 million. Now, if we just go over here and we convert it to Uber Pinnacle Boss, our Pinnacle Boss DPS is about 12 million. Full DPS on Pinnacle Boss is about 20, if we're in Blood Stance and not silly like me. Now, I know a lot of you guys want to see the gear. I know a lot of you guys want to see the POB. There'll be chapters. You guys can jump all around and check out all different things. In our POB, we have an effective hit pool of 100,000. That is because we are not chaos resist capped yet, as I need to fix my rings, and I will do that, and that'll be in the other POB link down below. There'll also be a budget POB link down below, and overall the inspiration for this build came from a Reddit thread that I saw, and I looked at it and I saw the POB and I was like, that's a really cool concept. We can make this better. And this started as a meme little project, 5 million, 6 million DPS, no effective hit pool at all, died to like a leaf blowing in the wind, and well, here we are. And I'm like, dude, I talk about this build and I'm stoked out of my mind. Literally stoked out of my mind. It's absolutely fantastic. So, swap this back to Guardian bosses. So, we have Frenzy charges, we have Endurance charges, we have Challenger charges, we have Onslaught, we have Fortify. Our max Fortify is 24. We get to 24 stacks. We have Tailwind, we have Elusive, we have Rage, we're Leeching, we have Flask, we have Crit recently. We've done just a bajillion damage. We have Trinity. We have all kinds of cool stuff. I'm going to walk you through each and every little bit of it. Now, let's give it a start with the damage. We said we were at 41 million. Our effective hit pool is 108 million. Something I want to point out. Our effective hit pool is based on largely by a cast and damage taken molten gel setup. The first hit that I take from a mob will be for 67,000 effective hit pool. When I get hit, Vaal Molten Shell or Molten Shell itself will trigger, and then I go up to 108,000. So I just want to like point that out, that you're gonna take a hit, you're gonna take a large hit, you're gonna you're gonna survive through it. Molten Shell is gonna go up, and your hit pool is gonna go higher. Now, I know I mentioned this about the video. In Sand Stance, our buffed DPS or our buffed range looks like this. In Blood Stance, it looks like this. If you want more area of effect, you map in Sand Stance. If you want more damage, you map in Blood Stance. Blood Stance for bossing is far superior. I kind of want to go back and re-record and do all the bices in Blood Stance, but I mean, the DPS is nuts as is, so you see. Now, a couple of disclaimers. This is a very min-max variant of this build. You do not need this gear exactly how it is. You can get this gear a lot cheaper. You can use lesser variants. There is a POB down below where it is super cheap, and you don't need everything I have to make this work. This will start, it will function, it will feel okay, it will then feel better, and it will feel great. If you want to make the build how I have it, save up some money, we'll talk about farming strategies, we'll help you out. And if at any point there's a piece of gear that you're working on that you get stuck, you don't know how to craft, leave a comment down below. I'll leave you the crafting instructions for all the pieces of gear that you need help with. I'll encourage you to join the Discord, as in the Discord we'll talk to you about how to make all the gear, and we'll walk you through everything. So first things first, let's start with the main big important part of the build, Voidforge. Our Voidforge is double corrupted. We got really lucky. This one was up for about 18 divines. It had Onslaught, additional accuracy, makes it an 8-link Voidforge. Very strong, very powerful. If it exists and you can afford it, I like it a lot. I don't think you need Onslaught and additional accuracy. I think a lot of the different double corrupts are really good, but getting a good double corrupt is very hard, as I know a bunch of content creators are also using Voidforge and also trying to buy them up and also trying to double corrupt them. So this might be a little rough to get as a double corrupt. A non-double corrupted one is still just as good, as the big part of Voidforge is the gain 700% of weapon damage as extra damage of a random element. This means every time we hit, we deal a different element type. So I can go fire, lightning, cold, cold, lightning, fire, 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 cold, fire, lightning, and it rotates and it hits, and it's just really strong. It gives us 100% max life, it gives us 8% increased attack speed, it gives us 20% area of effect, and it just hits hard, it hits fast, it does what we need it to do, it cycles a lot of different damage types, and it opens up a lot of building possibilities. So, we said we were playing Cleave. Cleave goes in the Voidforge, obviously. We are using a Divergent Vaal Cleave. We are using the Divergent variant for more increased attack speed. I'll actually take it out because it takes up a lot of room over there. You'll see we have 10% increased attack speed on it with quality. Ashes, when we put it in, makes it go up to 25%. We'll talk about Ashes soon, but you'll notice a running theme really quick where we use a lot of all quality gems paired with Ashes. So, Divergent Vaal Cleave. I'm actually going to take it here again. It's easier to read. Divergent Vaal Cleave. It does a lot of flat physical damage. We convert the physical damage to elemental damage, and it has a Divergent Vaal side, which is new to this league now. The Vaal side is Culling Strike. So if I use Vaal Cleave, I Culling Strike a mob. That strike can't be evaded. That strike gives us a buff. That buff gives us 60% more area of effect, 60% more damage against enemies that are on low life. That buff gives us attack speed. That buff gives us Culling Strike. That gives us radius, and it also steals mob buffs like Headhunter. It's Headhunter built into a gem, and I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's bait." You know, it's pretty strong, and you hit so damn hard that you could just like walk up to a range, just like Cleave, and you're just like, "Oh, sweet Headhunter," and in 20 seconds you're like giga strong. We pair that with Awakened melee physical damage support. It gives us a ton of just flat damage. It gives us more just damage on damage on damage. Can't really go wrong. We pair that then with elemental damage attack support. We take the Awaken variant because at level 5, the Awaken gem gives us Reflect immunity for elemental damage, which is really strong, which means we can do any map type, not worry about it at all, swing our sword without fear, and pretty much the only map mod that we can't do on this is No Leech, which is pretty cool, but we'll talk about maps in a little bit. We have a 100% crit chance, so we put increased crit multi into our sword. we're going to have 148% increased critical strike multiplier, which means we do 148% more damage. We have Awakened Multi-Strike. Now, you do not need Awakened Multi-Strike. Awakened Multi-Strike is a lot of extra damage. Awakened Multi-Strike is really powerful and really strong. Awakened Multi-Strike is very expensive. You can go with a 2020 Multi-Strike. You can go with a Divergent Multi-Strike. You can do a lot of things. You do not need to get this right away. Take your time, save up your money, and eventually get it. Multi-Strike does this. It allows us to swing our sword 4 times. Lastly, we pair that with Trinity. Trinity says gain 25 resonance of other elements per second for 2 seconds. Lose 5 resonance per second of each element you're not gaining. Supported skills deal 3% more elemental damage per 5 of lowest resonance. Supported skills penetrate 16% elemental resistance, while each resonance is at least 25. Supported skills deal 10% more damage. Now, we gain a max resonance of 50. We deal 10% increased elemental damage. We deal a ton of damage. Because Voidforge hits with all the element types, Trinity always has all the elements up all the time, period, ever. So we just get a flat buco amount of damage. And I can actually show you that really quick in the POB. If we go over to Vaal Cleave and we uncheck Trinity, we lose about 13 million DPS. That's how powerful this gem is. And that's how strong it is. Now, moving on from the Voidforge, we have our Abyssus. Abyssus is a helm that a lot of people don't like. I get it. Abyssus makes us take a ton more damage, but as you saw in the POB and you saw in the video showcase, we are pretty tanky. We will be tankier as we change our rings and we change our flasks. And there's a lot of room for improvement that the downside of Abyssus doesn't really affect us. Abyssus is so strong for what it gives. It gives us a flat 40 to 60 physical, a flat 125% crit multi, a ton of armor, attributes, and yeah, you take a little bit more damage, but you fix that with everything else. I have not been able to find a helmet better than Abyssus for this build. If you have any ideas, or if you have a crafted helmet, or you've got cool things you want to, bring to the table, please leave a comment down below. Join the Discord, tell me about it, because I would love to find a different helm and different options. The Abyssus itself with the helmet chain is super cheap. You don't have to worry about it. If you can't get Berserk has increased buff effect, you can get Berserk has reduced duration or increased duration. I think it's reduced the duration at which it depletes. I forget the wording. But all the Berserk effects are really good. This, I think, is the best one. Now, in our helmet, you'll notice that we have 2 links. This is really, really, really important. Our helmet's going to be where we have our totems set up. So you'll notice right now we have 2 totems and 1 totem. And this is because of multiple totem support. If I take out multiple totem support and I cast my totems, my 2 separate totems, you'll notice I can only have 1 at a time. We want to connect our multiple totem support to Ancestral Protector. Ancestral Protector will allow us to connect and cast 2 totems. Ancestral Protector gives us 20% more attack speed while the totems are active, so we attack really fast. We're using Phantasmal Ancestral Protector because it gives us an increased effect of the Ancestral Totem buff. So it gives us 50% increased buff effect. Now, you're going to notice this very quick and very often in this build. A lot of gems are all quality because we're using ashes. So, we put multiple totems, Ancestral Protector, we get some totems. We do not have multiple totems linked to Vaal Ancestral Warchief because Vaal Ancestral Warchief gives us 2 charges. If it is connected to multiple totems, it will use both charges. I do not like using both charges at a time. If I'm pressing my Vaal Ancestral Warchief, I want to use 1 charge which summons 2 totems. That's just me. So, Ancestral Warchief, 18% more melee damage while totem is active, melee strike range, just overall very, very, very strong. You really can't get a better bang for your buck playing melee than these 2 totems. They're very strong, they're very powerful, and you can just do this and then start attacking. And you see this is my attack speed with the totems up. If I move away from the totems and I just attack, you notice right away the big difference in attack speed, and that's how much the totems are adding. To give you an idea of how important the totems are, going back to take a look at the POB really quick, we go down to the totems and we disable the totems, we lose about 20 million DPS. Everything in this build works together like a fine, well-tuned machine. You need all the different working parts to come together. You don't need to get the parts exactly the way they are, but there's a method to the madness, and if something breaks and you change something and you say, hey, this doesn't work, and you change something, let me know what you changed and why you changed it so that we can figure out why it doesn't work. In our helm too, we have a Berserk. Berserk is really powerful and really strong. We're generating rage from our gloves, which we'll talk about in 1 second. Berserk gives us 20% more attack damage, 20% more attack speed, 30% more movement speed, 25% less damage taken. That's nuts. Nuts. Just nuts. The quality on it gives us increased attack damage. Thanks to Ashes, we get 50% increased attack damage from Berserk. To showcase what I mean, this is without Berserk up. This is with Berserk up. You can notice from our rage is not really going down. It's nice, it lasts, it's pretty strong, it's pretty good. If I press Enduring Cry, our rage goes back up. And then we run out, and just like that, our rage is coming back up. It actually takes longer for Berserk to come back up than it does for our rage to fill. Pretty much you have Berserk all the time. You always have Berserk, Berserk's always up, Berserk's always firing. We get our Berserk from our gloves. Our gloves say life recovery from regeneration is not applied, but regenerate 1 rage per second for every 100 life recovered per second from regeneration. So that means the more life regeneration we have, the more rage that we'll recover. So because we're playing Slayer and we're in a duelist side of the tree, we're going to get a lot of life regeneration, and we're going to see with our gem links that we're going to have a lot of life regeneration plus the way that our gear is crafted. Now, I managed to pick up these gloves with socketed aura gems and increased attack speed. You do not need the socketed aura gems. The increased attack speed was like 1 divine. The gloves are super, super, super cheap. You could just get the gloves and be okay. I thought about doing a chain breaker setup instead, but I didn't like it when I tested it. I thought the gloves are really powerful. In our gloves, we have Anomalous Defiance Banner. Defiance Banner is giving us more defenses. We're getting just more armor, more evasion. The Anomalous side of Defiance Banner is giving us increased armor and evasion rating. Very strong. It is expensive. Yes, I know. You do not need Anomalous Defiance Banner. You could start with regular Defiance Banner. We have Enlighten 4. Unfortunately, you need an Enlighten 4. If you do not have an Enlighten 4 in the skill tree, there are spots where you can remove life nodes and take more mana reservation nodes. There's a way around this until you can afford a Enlighten 4. Do not panic over Enlighten 4. There are ways around this. We use Anomalous Period of Elements. Regular Period of Elements is fine until you can afford Anomalous. Anomalous was like 100C. It wasn't even that expensive. Now, note a lot of these prices that I'm talking about are at time of recording. These prices are subject to change. I do not control the market. The market fluctuates extremely fast all the time. Anomalous Period of Elements gives us increased effective aura. So we're getting a 25% increased effective aura. We're using Period of Elements for our resistances. We're also using it to make us ailment immune. It is the easiest, cheapest way to do it. It works really well, and we are able to fit it into the build, no problem. And lastly, we're using Divergent Determination. Determination gives us a buku amount of armor. You'll know all of our gear has armor on it except the boots, and we just get a ton of armor. Eventually, we're going to change our flask to a granite flask, and we're just going to have more armor on more armor on more armor. The Divergent side gives us 5% of evasion rating as extra armor. We don't have a ton of evasion rating right now. We only have 1200, so you really don't need Divergent Determination. I did a lot of heisting. I happen to have it. I put it on. You do not need it. It is just nice and a little extra. You don't need it. Excuse me. Our Amulet, Ashes. I mentioned Ashes a lot. We have Ashes because of all the different all-quality gems. Ashes is giving us plus level all active skill gems. So it's +1 on all of our auras. You'll see we have +1 from global modifier, +1 from global modifier, +1 from global modifier. It also gives us +1 on our cleave. A level 1 cleave, not as important as the +1 on all the auras. Ashes also gives us a mana reservation. Mine is rolled pretty poorly for mana reservation. If I had closer to a 20-30, I'd be able to fit in more stuff and wouldn't have as many problems. I think quality of skill gems is more important than reservation, as you can get reservation from the tree. So if you have to get an Ashes, I would aim for a 30% quality one first before you looked at anything else. Our Ashes has spiritual command on it. Don't worry about that. We'll talk about that in a minute. That's there for a reason, I promise. Moving on over to our boots. Our boots are fugitive boots for chaos resistance. The boots are very intimidating. I agree. They have a lot of text on them. Yes, it looks like a novel was written. I crafted these boots myself for under 30 divines. I think I might have gotten lucky in the crafting. I will teach you how to craft them. The boots are very simple. They're very easy to craft. Do not go buy the boots yourself. Just make them. Now, you don't need elevated tailwind. Don't need elevated onslaught. You don't need elusive. You don't need more move. You can just get a nice pair of triple res boots, movement speed on your boots, and just start there and call it a good day. Or tailwind some resistances, onslaught some resistances. You don't need all of the fancy stuff on the boots. Eventually, you'll work your way up to the boots, and I can teach you how to make the boots. I made them myself. I elevated a pair of Tailwind boots. I elevated a pair of Onslaught boots. I Awakened and Absorbed them together. I got really lucky. I got Chaos Resistance. If I had missed and did not have an open suffix, I would have sold the boots that I slammed together and let somebody else have it. And when they sold, made a new pair. So you elevate Tailwind, you elevate Onslaught, you slam together, you hope for an open suffix or a really good third suffix. If you have an open suffix, you lock suffixes, reforge Chaos, knock on wood, hope to get Chaos Resistance. From there, you lock suffixes again, you reforge crit, gives you elusive every single time. I wanted movement speed, I locked, I ashlinged. I locked suffixes, I ashlinged, I hit increased movement speed, crafted on life, called it a good day. The boots, I know, it's intimidating, it's crafting's complicated, but if you want to make the boots yourself and you have a ton of questions, ask. Talk to us, ask, we'll help walk you through it. I serviced the boots myself in labs. I got damage penetrates 10% of elemental resistance. This adds a lot, and I mean a lot of damage. I know a lot of you guys will be like, but how much damage does it do, bro? They can't be that much damage. If I literally go here to the boots, and I go to this crafted mod, and I cut this crafted mod out, and I save these boots without it, and I hit save, we lose 3 million DPS. Now, 3 million is a lot for labs. Labs is not very hard to do. Labs is very quick. You can service the boots yourself. It took me like 30 lab runs. I know, sucks. You can also pay a lab runner to do it. There's a couple of good lab runners in our Discord that will sell you services that I trust. We advocate all the time for a lab runner on this channel. If he's labbing, he'll gladly sell you the boots in the lab enchant. But I really recommend getting the lab enchant on the boots. I know you guys are looking at the Mage Blood. You do not need the Mage Blood. This is not solely a Mage Blood build. You do not need it. There's a POB down below in the comments section. As I said earlier, this build was inspired through a post on Reddit. The gentleman who posted the build on Reddit, I will leave the post down below for you to look at, did not have a Mage Blood in his variant. His gear was nowhere near as min-max as ours, and he was still doing content really well and had a really good time with it. And the showcase that he did was very strong and very powerful. I had a Mage Blood. I farmed up a Mage Blood really early in the league. I've been using it on everything. I have it. I'm going to use it. I love the belt. I think it's a lot of fun, but you do not need it. You can get a nice Stygian Vice, a Hunter Stygian Vice. There's so many options that you could do for a belt, and we've seen this league, that you do not need a Mage Blood. Mage Blood is just quality of life. If you have it, great. If not, there are 1,000 other options. And lastly, our armor. Our armor is a work of art. We got very lucky with our armor. Extremely lucky with our armor. Our armor is bonkers strong. It needs a tailoring orb. I do not have the money for tailoring orbs. I will eventually tailoring orb the armor. I do not have the tailoring orbs yet. The armor, I bought the suffixes done for 5 divines. Somebody had the suffixes with the fracture on it, 5 divines. I bought it. I then used Eldritch Currency to put tier 2 life in the prefix. I locked suffixes. I ashlinged. Ashling removed the tier 2 life. Gave me modifier of the chosen. I unveiled 10% max life, max mana. I felt really happy. Twitch chat was like, yo, bro, just Exalt Slam. I Exalt Slam tier 1 life. Chris, we visioned it. I finished it up with putting physical damage taken from hits as fire and lightning for just more of a defensive layer, since our max resistance is 78 across the board. The armor is wonderful. It is beautiful. There are a lot of other options that you can do. You do not need to have an armor as crazy as mine, but making this armor is not as expensive, as intimidating as you think. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. You could probably buy the fractured base for super cheap if it exists. And then you spam Chaos Resistance, Essence of Envy until you hit Spell Suppression tier 1. The armor is not hard at all to make, period. I'll leave you instructions down below if you need it, or if you have questions, feel free to ask, and I'll write up a little thing for you guys on how to make the armor. Now, we've looked at the amulet. We understand it has spiritual command. We looked at the helmet, the armor, the belts, the boots, the gem links. Oh, I might have actually forgot 2 very important gem links. Plasma Leap Slam in our boots. I'm silly. I forgot this. Check this out. Phantasmal Leap Slam. 25% more increased attack speed. What? Crazy. Look at my Leap Slam. Look at how fast I Leap Slam. Now look at me Berserk and Leap Slam. I just move at an absurd speed of light. Our boots have Phantasmal Leaf Slam tied with faster attacks. We have a cast when damage taken setup, pretty standard. You do not need anomalous cast when damage taken. It only gives a skill effect duration. If you can afford it, great. It's not very expensive at all. Molten Shell, pretty standard. Now keep in mind, if you're doing this, cast when damage taken needs to stay at level 1 and Molten Shell can't go higher than level 10. Very important. If you'd like for this to work, keep that in mind. Because a lot of people forget that. So, you know, disclaimer. Our faster attacks in our boots does not need to be there. If I take it out, we still leap slam pretty fast. Even with Berserk, we still move pretty fast. I'm actually thinking about taking out faster attacks and making it Frostblink. Or I'm actually thinking about taking it out, putting precision here, and then changing this. And I'll talk about that in a second. Our chest plate has LE weakness in it. We actually cast LE weakness pretty fast, pretty easy. LE weakness is giving us minus 26% of the elemental resistances on the enemies. If we look at POB for LE weakness, it's very strong. It is very, 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 very strong. I haven't figured out if another aura is better yet, but if I click off LE weakness, we lose about 10 million DPS. LE weakness is great. We pair that with an Enlighten 3. You do not need an Enlighten 4 here. Enlighten 3 in this situation is more than enough. We have a Divergent Vitality. We have Divergent because increased damage while taken, or increases damage dealt while on full life. We are Slayer, we're full life all the time. Vitality, because we want the life regeneration. The higher the level of the Vitality, the more life we regen, the more life we regen, the more rage we get, the better these gloves are. We have Blood and Sand. While we were in Sand Stance, we have more area of effect and less area damage. When we're in Blood Stance, we have more area damage, less area of effect. As I mentioned when I did a showcase, I was in Sand Stance. I was not in Blood Stance. So I was missing a ton of damage. As you can see, the difference in AoE range is not too noticeable. But going forward, now that I've made that mistake and I've learned from it, I won't make it again. And I want to emphasize again to you guys, if bossing, Blood Stance. If mapping, Sand Stance. And it'll click in a minute. We have Enduring Cry. Now, if I press Berserk, you'll notice my Berserk is going down. Now wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Enduring Cry. Boom, full again. Enduring Cry also gives us endurance charges. So we have Enduring Cry, gives us endurance charges, gives us more rage, refills our rage really fast. The biggest problem that you're going to have is your rage is going to be full and your Berserk is going to be on cooldown. So that is the chest. Divergent Precision. Precision level 1. We have Precision for the Watcher's Eye, which we'll get to, and we have Precision Divergent for increased damage. So you and nearby enemies deal increased damage. 5% is a lot of increased damage. A lot. Like a lot. A whole lot. As far as flask goes, I have an armor flask here with crit strike chance. I have a chaos resist flask here with reduced mana cost of skills. Eventually, I'm going to change this out. I'm going to redo my rings. I'm going to change this out. I'm going to make this a granite flask. I have an onslaught flask with resistances. And this is the part that I mentioned earlier. If you have a nice Stygian Vice, you don't need the resistance here, as this fixes all of my resistances. We have a Quicksilver flask with movement speed. Now, the real beauty, before we get into the POB and the skill tree, the real beauty are these rings. I love these rings. I am using bone rings. And this is a tech that I took from the Reddit thread. The bone ring tech is really cool. I don't know if this is best in slot. I thought it was really sweet. I liked it a lot. I wanted to do it. I managed to find Fractured Wed. Wed is elemental damage with attack skills, which is the fracture, which is the yellow line of text or gold line of text. I managed to find bone rings with tier 1 Wed for like 2 divines each. They're still on the trade website for like 2 divines each. They're super cheap. If you do pick up fractured bone rings like I have, I think these are really good. You will then use an essence for crit strike multi. You will spam that until you hit attack and cast speed with minions. And I know you're gonna say, what? That's weird. Yes, minions. Yes. We have minions have increased attack and cast speed. This ring is 13%. This ring is 14%. That's because of Spiritual Command. Increases and reductions in minion attack speed also affect you. I know giving up 2 suffixes and an anoint for a lot of attack speed might not be the best idea. I like it. I think it's fun. A good buddy of mine, Mr. Coolwhit, who worked on the Fire Reap build, has made other suggestions that are really good, which I'll probably eventually make my way towards. I'll change the ring anoint. I'll change the rings. I'll post an updated POB down below with those changes. That looks really good. And it gives you more damage and more, like, more everything, more EHP and everything. I think the bone rings are really cool. These are great starter rings. They're super cheap. To make the rings, spam essences until you hit increased attack gas speed. And then any suffix. That's good. I took lightning resistance here. I got really lucky. This ring I spammed. I hit crit multi tier 1 int. I needed the int. I then locked reforged because I was crazy and I didn't realize it was this bad. I 1 in 12 increased attack and cast speed. I hit tier 1, which was really good. So I spammed crit multi essence. I hit tier 1 int. I needed the int. My original plan was to spam for attack speed and int. You need the int. The int is important. You have to figure out where to put the int. If you don't put the int on the ring, you got to put the int on the skill tree. Trade-offs, right? After you create the suffixes, you lock suffixes, use a Veiled Chaos Orb, craft on mana, unveil life, boom, you're done. Craft on non-channeling. The rings are super easy. And like I said, if you have a hard time figuring out how to make the rings, you don't know how to make the rings, leave a comment down below. I will gladly help walk you through it. Now, moving on to the skill tree. The skill tree, we take Slayer. Slayer is really strong and really powerful. Slayer is giving us Bane of Legends. We can't take physical damage, which is pretty good for everything else. We get 10% more damage if we killed recently, 20% more damage with hits and ailments against unique enemies. So this is just a flat damage node. If I unclick it, it's just a lot of damage. A lot. We get Endless Hunger. We get 20% of overkill damage as leeches life. 20% increased attack speed while leeching. Cannot be stunned while leeching. Unaffected by bleeding while leeching. Once again, if I unclick this, it's a lot of DPS. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. I was curious. I know this node's really good. I was just super curious. We get Brutal Fervor, 100% increased maximum recovery per life leech. Life leech effects are not removed when unreserved life is filled. This gives us our overleech, which gives us great sustain. 10% reduced damage taken while leeching. As long as we're hitting, we're leeching. As long as we're leeching, we take 10% reduced damage. We constantly gain a ton of life. And it's bro, it's strong. Bro, it is strong. Lastly, we're taking Impact. Impact is giving us 50% global accuracy rating. If I unclick Impact, we lose a ton of DPS. We're still hit capped, but we lose a ton of DPS. We have +4 melee strike range. We get 5% more increased area effect. Enemy killed up to 50%. We get more damage dealt based on proximity. Impact is really, really, really strong. Now, I know you guys are like, but what about Headsman? We have Headsman on Cleave. So we have Vaal Cleave. We don't need Headsman. We have Vaal Cleave. Looking at the tree, though, starting from the duelist side, we take the attack speed nodes here and the armor and life nodes. These 4 points, they're just so strong. You can't get a better bang for your buck. At all, period. Moving over to the right, we take this Jewel Socket for Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flesh, which we'll touch on in a minute. We get Elemental Equilibrium because of how Voidforge works and how it attacks and how it rotates elements and how it hits the mobs. We always have an element. We're always hitting. We always have exposure. They always take 25%, and you just hit. If I take it off and I put it on, you notice it's thousands and millions of DPS loss. This right side of the tree is very strong and very powerful. We have just life up here, regenerate life per second when we use a flask. We have attack speed and accuracy here. We have just these wonderful spell suppression nodes here, just flat damage here and resistances. We get more spell suppression, more evasion, more max life here, flask recovery rate. We get the life mastery for vitality, more life here. We have this fantastic wheel for sword skills that gives us crit strike chance with swords and crit strike multi on the whole wheel. We have the precision nodes, which gives us attack speed and global accuracy rating. You really can't beat these precision nodes. We get another frenzy charge. We get crit multi. We get spell suppression. In this node, I want to take a second to talk about Innervate. Normally, when you have spell suppression and spell suppression goes to 100%, you take 50% less damage from spells. With this node, you take 53% less damage. So if I unclick this, it's a couple thousand like effective hit pool. It's really strong, and I know people are like, it's okay, but I'm telling you, bro, listen, it's really strong. Now, with these nodes, we take some masteries. We get critical strike chance increased by spell suppression chance, so we get 100% crit strike chance. We get crit strike multi against unique enemies. We get crit strike chance with swords minus crit strike multi. We have 621% crit strike multi. It's fine. We get dexterity bonus, gives us +3 accuracy per dexterity. And this is why I mentioned earlier with the Voidforge, we might not need a double corrupt Voidforge. It was available at the time before I put this build together. I bought it because that's what I saw in POB, and I bought it. There are probably better corruptions on the Voidforge, but you could, you know, play around in POB and see what you like. Now, I have a timeless jewel here. I got really lucky. I bought this one a couple weeks ago for like 5 or 6 divines. It was super cheap. I bought it actually for my cast on crit fireball build. This timeless jewel does exist in this number. You can find this one. It was on the trade website when I looked earlier. They're a little bit more expensive than when I bought them. I'm not going to tell you a price because I'm sure the price is going to fluctuate and change. This one gives me double damage, double damage, double damage, max life, fortification, crit strike chance. There's a website that you can use that I'll put a link down in the description below where you too can look up insane jewels. There's a lot of these that do pretty much the same thing, and they're cheap, and they're on the trade website, and you just have to take some time to search for them. They exist. They're cheap. You can find them. Moving over to the left side of the tree now. So I mentioned we took this jewel socket for a Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flesh. The other one is down here. So we came over here, we grabbed the Frenzy Charge, we grabbed Golem's Blood for more life, and we grabbed the jewel socket. We are taking Arena Challenger for our Forbidden Flame, Forbidden Flesh setup. Originally, I had Impact. So originally, the Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flesh was Impact. Impact is a really good Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flesh to get started with. It's very cheap. If you get the Impact one instead, you go like this for Overwhelm. You have Impact. You're still cruising. You can actually see on my character, if I swap back over, I still have the Forbidden Flame and the Forbidden Flesh here as I was doing some testing right up until I made this video. The Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flesh setup for Impact was like 1.5 divines for the whole thing. Super cheap. Now, Arena Challenger, and this is where I made a mistake. I didn't realize that I'd lose Challenger charges if I was not in Blood Stance. So when I did that Sirius fight, I didn't have my Challenger charges, so I was missing a ton of DPS. So we get 2% more attack and movement speed per Challenger charge. That's a lot. So we get 20% more attack and movement speed. That's a lot. It's a lot. So I did the whole Sirius fight without it, and I still did very well. So that fight probably would have went a lot smoother if I would have been smart. Now, on the left side of the tree, we have a couple of really cool things. We get Champion of the Cause, which gives us aura efficiency and more max res. If you find out that you cannot afford Enlighten 4 and you need to go with smaller Enlightens and you need more res and more mana, you can take these points out here and you can grab mana efficiency there. I thought there was another mana efficiency node somewhere. I could be mistaken. But yeah, you could just do this and click this mana reservation node there. And that'll give you more there. We're going to take auras from your skills, have increased effect. We want to just juice up our aura effect as high as we can. Coming down over here, we have Blade of Cunning, which gives us accuracy rating, crit strike chance with swords, crit strike multi with swords. And it's also giving us 8% chance to get a frenzy charge when we hit a unique enemy. So hit an enemy, trigger, boom, frenzy charges, frenzy charge there, frenzy charge there. 3 and 8, +2, 5, always frenzy charges. We're coming up over here to Fortification. We get +4 Fortification there, +5, +6, +7 from this. We take the Mastery for -3. So 27 minus 3 is 24. All of our hits fortify all the time ever. We take Call to Arms for instant war cry. So our cleave always just goes off. We take Bloodless for max life. Enemies can't leech on you. We come up over here to Blade Master for increased physical damage with swords. Swords deal 20% with increased damage with ailments. More attack speed, more accuracy rating. And then up here for max life. Up here for max life, max armor, and Determination has increased mana reservation. You need the mana reservation for Determination. You need the mana reservation for Vitality. They're very important, so don't skip out on them. We come up here, we take a Jewel Socket for an Impossible Escape. You do not need this Impossible Escape. It is just strong. It is expensive. Save up for it. Put the points elsewhere. This Impossible Escape is giving us more armor, more max res, and double damage. This is just a huge giga damage node and giga defensive node. If I take these off right now, you see we have 97,000 versus 108, and our DPS goes from 38 to 41. This jewel was like 40 divines. Save up for it. Get it when you can. Put the points elsewhere. You can put a point into life and armor mastery. There's just so many places that you can put these points. You can get more resistances here. You can get more armor here. You can get just there are a ton of spots that you could put those 3 points to substitute for having that impossible guard or impossible escape right off the bat. That's it. That's the build. And I know a lot of you guys are like, but how does it map? How does it play? Does it play good? Does it feel good? What, like, can you show us a map? I can. Oh, I forgot. My relic. I had crit strike multi for attack damage. Phases extra fire. You don't need this one. This is just a lot of damage. You do need Magebane, though. Magebane is expensive, I know, but Magebane's how we cap our spell suppression. So you need the Magebane. The other relic, you can get any kind of crit damage, any kind of, just anything good that you have that you're comfortable slapping Magebane onto. If you're unsure and you want to ask questions, feel free to plug it into POB, ask us, come to the Discord. We'll take a look at it before you slap on Magebane. I know Magebane's expensive. But lastly, I'm sure everybody wants to see what a map looks like. We'll just take a map. I mean, I guess this is fine. We'll just like corrupt it, whatever. Open the map device, put this bad boy in, click on our influence. And this is what a map looks like. Ooh, look, Harbingers. I don't know if you want me to kill the Harbinger. I'm killing the Harbinger. They can drop fracturing shards. I'm killing the Harbinger. Don't yell at me, Dad. Now, I know a lot of other content creators were not a huge fan of this, said it didn't feel good, felt clunky. I like it. I think it's super sweet and super fast. I think it plays really well. And at the end of this video, afterwards, when we should be cutting it, I can link, or if you want to see on Twitch, I can do like a Giga Juice Delirious map. I was able to do 100% Delirious with this build, no problem. It cuts through everything like it's butter. And then if I found a mob and it died too fast, and then I can just, Vaal Cleave it. Let's see if I can find a rare. I just kill everything way too fast. Did I kill the rare already? I killed the rare already. Unlucky. And then the boss. There is no dead zone for this skill, by the way. I know it looks like there's a dead zone. There's no dead zone. This area right here is not a dead zone. So, and that's it. That's Vaal Cleave. Now, if you want to have fun, something else, one last thing I'll leave you with. If you want to have a little bit of fun and you want to mess around a little bit, on stream, I've killed every Uber boss with Cleave. I've killed every Uber boss with Sweep. And I've killed every Uber boss with Ice Crash. I have not tried Reeve yet. I hear Reeve is insane. I didn't even know it was a skill until like 20 minutes ago. So, I think outside of everything, I've managed to find a really good cookie cutter build for melee skills. Give it a shot. See if you like it. If you like it, let me know in the comments down below. If you hate it, let me know in the comments down below. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I'll be more than happy to help you out any way that I can. I know this video is a little long. I'm sorry, but for now, if you give Cleave a try and you like it, let me know. So long, friends. Farewell. Goodbye.